There's 5 useful tips when it comes to maintaining your bandsaw and making sure that it runs optimally. Okay, so first things first, if you've got a fence that runs on here, we want to make sure that that fence is parallel with the blade. So one thing we can do to test that is simply put a magnet on the side of the blade, but just make sure it's set back so it's not touching the teeth, and then get yourself a steel rule. And what that's going to do is that's going to give you the perfect line, so that makes sure that your fence is parallel with your blade. Next, we want to make sure that the bearings on the top and the bottom side are adjusted in a way that they don't make contact with the blade when it's rotating, but it's very, very close. So if the blade does deflect slightly, the bearing will engage and it will make it run against it. So you want zero contact, but as close as you can possibly get. Next is the tension of the blade. So you want to make sure that the blade is rigid, but it deflects a little bit, but not a huge amount, so it would make contact with anything. So we want it to have, just apply some pressure and it should move about 3 or 4 millimeters, and that's ideal. Next, we want to make sure the gullet, which is the deepest part of the tooth just there, that is in the center of the wheel. Because the top of the wheel has got a slight curve in it, we want to make sure at the peak of that curve, that's where we put the tension on the blade. So as the blade rotates, we want to make sure that it's not dipping. Now, if it was too far forwards, the blade would be curving in slightly and the tension would be further back on the blade. So we want to make sure it's nice and tense in the center of the wheel, and then we can tighten it up. And last but not least, we want to make sure that everything is in as good a condition as possible. So the blade is free of rust. The bearings run nice and smoothly, so when the blade is removed and there's no tension on it, just spin the top and the bottom wheel, make sure they spin nicely. Check the condition of the rubber that's attached to the outside of your wheels, and also check the condition of the belt that drives the wheel from the motor. And then you should be running optimally.